The ruling by the Chief Justice against Angela Rayner has ignited a political firestorm that is threatening to dismantle the Labour Party's carefully curated image of integrity and accountability. Rayner, once seen as a rising star within the party, now finds herself at the centre of one of the most significant scandals in modern British politics. The decision to delay local elections in 9 key council areas under the guise of necessary council restructuring was originally presented as a well-intentioned administrative move. However, the court has now exposed this delay for what it truly was, a blatant attempt to manipulate the political process and suppress opposition, particularly the rising influence of Reform UK. The ruling has cast a dark shadow over the Labour Party, calling into question its commitment to democratic principles and fairness. For weeks, Rayner and her allies stood firm, defending the delay and insisting that it was a necessary step in governance. They argued that the local councils needed more time to adjust to the restructuring process. Yet the court has dismissed this explanation outright, labeling it a politically motivated maneuver designed to undermine the democratic process. What was initially seen as a routine political move has now been proven to be a deliberate strategy to weaken the opposition, particularly Nigel Farage's Reform UK party, which had been gaining ground in local government elections. The evidence presented in court, leaked internal government documents, memos and testimonies from former Labour insiders, pointed to a clear and coordinated effort to block the elections in order to prevent a surge in support for Farage's party. This revelation has sent shockwaves through Westminster and beyond, as the legal ruling has not only exposed the Labour Party's actions but also raised serious questions about its commitment to democracy. The court's verdict has put Labour's credibility at risk, as it now faces accusations of election rigging, a crime that could have severe consequences for those involved. Rayner, who had once been considered a formidable political figure, now finds herself scrambling to salvage her career. Within hours of the ruling, reports surfaced of panic among Labour MPs, with many beginning to question their loyalty to a leader who has been so clearly implicated in undermining the democratic process. For Rayner, the future is uncertain. Her attempts to downplay the ruling and deflect blame have been met with skepticism, and the public's outrage continues to mount. In the wake of the court's decision, calls for her resignation are growing louder, not only from the opposition but from within her own party. This scandal has opened a Pandora's box of potential consequences for Labour, and the political landscape is now forever changed. Rayner's grip on power is slipping, and the repercussions of this legal battle will undoubtedly be felt for months, if not years, to come. The Chief Justice's ruling against Angela Rayner has sparked an unprecedented political crisis, not just for her but for the entire Labour Party. The decision has revealed the deeply unsettling truth behind Labour's efforts to manipulate the electoral process, and the damage to the party's reputation is far-reaching. What began as an attempt to delay local elections under the guise of administrative necessity has now been exposed as a deliberate strategy to suppress political opposition and protect Labour's shrinking grip on power. The ruling has placed Labour in the most precarious position it has faced in years, with public trust in the party now at an all-time low. The court's verdict unequivocally states that the delay in elections was not a response to legitimate governance concerns, but rather a politically motivated action designed to halt the rise of Reform UK. This new political force, led by Nigel Farage, had been gaining momentum, particularly among working-class voters, who were increasingly disillusioned with the main political parties. The delay was a direct effort to prevent Farage's party from making significant gains in local councils, and the court's finding of misconduct has placed Rayner at the centre of a scandal that is shaking the very foundations of British democracy. The ruling has exposed not only Rayner's abuse of power but also the extent to which Labour was willing to go to cling to its dominance. Leaked internal documents, memos and testimonies from former party insiders have revealed that the delay in elections was a strategic decision aimed at buying time for the party to regroup and counter the growing influence of Reform UK. This was not a mistake or an overzealous bureaucratic action, but a deliberate move to manipulate the electoral calendar in Labour's favour, undermining the very principles of free and fair elections. The implications of the court's decision are profound. The Labour Party now faces accusations of election rigging, a serious charge that could lead to legal and political consequences for those involved. As the scandal unfolds, Rayner's position within the party has become increasingly untenable. Senior figures within Labour who once stood behind her are now quietly acknowledging the extent of her actions and the damage they have caused. Her efforts to downplay the ruling and defend her actions have done little to quell the outrage that has erupted both within and outside the party. Calls for her resignation have been gaining traction, with even Labour MPs questioning her ability to continue leading the party. The once powerful political figure now finds herself on the defensive, her career hanging by a thread. The court's ruling has not only shattered Rayner's political career, but also raised larger questions about the integrity of the Labour Party and its commitment to democratic values. As the public and political pressure intensify, the future of both Rayner and Labour's hold on power remains uncertain. The damage done is not easily undone, and the fallout from this scandal will likely resonate for years to come, shaping the political landscape in ways that no one could have predicted. The ripple effects of the ruling against Angela Rayner have extended far beyond her personal political downfall, spreading throughout the entire Labour Party and even threatening the foundations of British democracy. What was initially seen as a small internal scandal has quickly escalated into a full-blown crisis, exposing deep fissures within Labour and galvanising public outrage. The court's decision has not only revealed Labour's willingness to bend the rules to maintain power, but it has also exposed a systemic issue of manipulation and dishonesty that had previously been hidden from public view. For many, the ruling confirmed suspicions that Labour, in its desperation to hold on to its position, was prepared to go to extraordinary lengths to suppress opposition, particularly Reform UK, which had begun to gain significant ground in key local council elections. What should have been a routine political move, delaying elections to address logistical issues, has been revealed as a carefully orchestrated strategy to prevent the rise of Farage's party and by extension stifle the will of the British people. This revelation has rocked the public's trust in Labour. Voters who had long felt disillusioned by the political establishment now saw their worst fears confirmed. The party they had trusted to represent them had been actively working against their interests. The ruling itself has sent shockwaves through Westminster, with many questioning how far the Labour leadership was willing to go to protect their political turf. The response from the party has been frantic and desperate. In the immediate aftermath of the ruling, Labour's senior officials scrambled to mitigate the damage, issuing statements in a futile attempt to spin the court's findings in their favour. However, their efforts only further exposed the depth of the scandal. Behind closed doors, MPs were increasingly vocal in their criticism of Rayner's actions, with many fearing that this scandal could cost them their seats in the next general election. As the weeks go by, it becomes clearer that the damage caused by this scandal is more than just a temporary setback. It is a defining moment for Labour's future. The party's credibility has been permanently tarnished, and its ability to present itself as the defender of democratic principles has been severely compromised. What's worse is that, within the party itself, there is now a deep sense of betrayal. Former supporters are questioning the leadership's ability to take responsibility for its actions, while some Labour MPs are quietly advocating for Rayner's resignation. The scandal has also emboldened opponents, particularly Reform UK, which has seized the opportunity to rally disillusioned voters. Farage, in particular, has positioned himself as the true defender of democracy, using Rayner's actions to strengthen his party's appeal and build momentum for the upcoming elections. With the Labour Party struggling to recover from this devastating blow, the future of the party and its leadership hangs in the balance. The path ahead will not be easy, and the consequences of this scandal will continue to shape the political landscape for years to come. The fallout from Angela Rayner's scandal continues to grow, taking on increasingly serious proportions as both political and legal consequences unfold. While the initial media coverage focused on the immediate implications of the court ruling, a deeper, more unsettling truth began to emerge. The Labour Party, once a strong proponent of transparency and democratic principles, now finds itself at the heart of one of the most significant political scandals in modern British history. The decision to manipulate election dates and suppress opposition has not only shaken the public's trust but has revealed a disturbing pattern of actions designed to maintain power at any cost. Labour's refusal to accept accountability for this brazen abuse of power is now one of its biggest vulnerabilities. As more evidence comes to light, including leaked documents and testimonies from disgruntled insiders, it becomes clear that this scandal was not an isolated incident but part of a larger strategy aimed at curbing the influence of Reform UK. Far from an administrative oversight, the decision to delay key elections was an intentional effort to prevent a rise in support for the opposition party, particularly in areas where Labour had historically enjoyed dominance. The revelation that Labour's leadership was willing to risk the integrity of the political system to maintain control has left many questioning the very foundation of the party. The question now is how Labour will recover from this scandal, and whether its leadership, specifically Keir Starmer, will be able to restore any semblance of trust in the party. Despite initial attempts to distance himself from the controversy, Starmer's inaction in addressing the issue head-on has done little to stem the growing calls for accountability. The pressure on him to act is mounting. Behind the scenes, Labour MPs are increasingly divided. Some are urging swift action to remove Rayner, fearing that her continued position will bring further irreparable damage to the party's reputation. However, others worry that such a move could trigger a civil war within Labour, further destabilising the party ahead of the general election. This division is further compounded by the public's reaction, with voters becoming increasingly disillusioned with the entire political establishment. As Reform UK capitalises on Labour's failures, their popularity has surged. Farage, whose party had previously struggled to break through, now finds himself leading a legitimate challenge to Labour's dominance. With an increasing number of voters dissatisfied with the status quo, many are turning to Reform UK as a viable alternative. Labour's failure to address the scandal effectively has not only damaged its image, but has given a significant boost to the opposition. The party's once secure political stronghold is now at risk as public trust continues to erode. The scandal has ignited a wider conversation about the fragility of democracy and the need for greater transparency and integrity in the political system. Labour's mishandling of this situation has served as a powerful reminder of the dangers of political overreach and the importance of respecting democratic processes. The coming weeks will be crucial in determining whether Labour can weather this storm or whether the party's own actions will be its undoing. The future of the Labour Party now hangs in the balance, and with it, the future of British politics itself. As the political crisis surrounding Angela Rayner and the Labour Party deepens, the damage to their credibility continues to mount. The ruling against Rayner in the election rigging scandal has ignited a firestorm of public outrage and political repercussions that are reverberating throughout the country. The impact of the scandal extends far beyond Rayner herself. It has become a symbol of the deepening fractures within the Labour Party, and a severe blow to the public trust in the political system. Rayner's position, once seen as a rising star within the party, is now under intense scrutiny, with her career hanging by a thread. Public reaction to the scandal has been swift and unforgiving, with calls for her resignation intensifying by the day. Her attempt to manipulate the electoral process to secure Labour's hold on power has not only undermined the democratic process, but has left her exposed as a leader willing to bend the rules to maintain political control. For many, the scandal is not just about one woman's actions, but about the party as a whole, and the belief that Labour has allowed itself to become entrenched in corruption. The evidence against Rayner, including leaked documents, testimonies from former insiders, and court rulings, has left little room for denial. What began as a strategic move to delay elections in an attempt to halt the rise of Reform UK has now snowballed into a full-scale crisis, and Labour's leadership is scrambling to find a way out. Keir Starmer's handling of the situation has done little to calm the storm. His failure to take decisive action has left him vulnerable to accusations of complicity, with critics questioning his ability to lead effectively. Some are now asking if this scandal could be the tipping point that brings down not just Rayner but the entire Labour Party. The divisions within Labour are growing more pronounced, with MPs privately admitting that Rayner's continued presence in the party is becoming untenable. The whispers of a leadership challenge are growing louder as the party struggles to maintain any semblance of unity. While Starmer has made vague attempts to distance himself from the scandal, his inability to take decisive action has only fueled the perception that he is ineffectual and unable to handle the crisis. With the public's trust in Labour at an all-time low, the question is no longer whether the party can recover from the scandal, but how long it will take for the damage to be irreversible. In the midst of this turmoil, Reform UK is seizing the moment, gaining significant traction among disillusioned voters. Farage, once considered a fringe politician, now finds himself at the head of a legitimate political movement, drawing in those who feel betrayed by the establishment. As the Labour Party flounders, Reform UK is poised to capitalise on its missteps, positioning itself as the alternative for those looking for change. The political landscape in Britain is shifting, and with Labour's credibility in tatters, the rise of Reform UK could mark a new era in British politics. The Labour Party is facing a moment of reckoning, and the stakes have never been higher. How the party responds in the coming weeks will determine whether it can salvage its future, or whether the scandal will be the final nail in the coffin. The consequences of Angela Rayner's actions were impossible to ignore. With the court ruling against her, the media backlash was swift and brutal. Headlines flooded the news, accusing her of undermining the very democratic process she had sworn to protect. What started as a political maneuver to delay elections had quickly escalated into a full-blown scandal, shaking the foundations of the Labour Party. Public outrage grew rapidly, with voters feeling betrayed by the woman who had once been seen as a promising leader within the party. The decision to block elections was now not just about governance. It had become a symbol of Labour's desperate clinging to power at any cost. Internal Labour communications revealed a growing sense of panic, with MPs scrambling to contain the fallout. The once confident Rayner was now under intense pressure to step down, her position becoming increasingly untenable. Even her most loyal supporters were starting to question her judgment and integrity. Meanwhile, Reform UK seized the moment, with Nigel Farage leading the charge against Labour's corrupt tactics, rallying support from disillusioned voters. The party's credibility had taken a significant hit, and the future of Angela Rayner, and perhaps Labour itself, was now uncertain. The storm had only just begun, and its impact would be felt for months, if not years, to come. See you later.